We got more people shot. Sean Carson from Union. Sean Carson from Union.
Those were some of the initial calls from the scene of a mass shooting in Rochester early Saturday morning. 2 young people were killed and 14 others were hurt after shots rang out at a party on Pennsylvania Avenue. That's according to police. Hello everyone, I'm Jeannie McBride and thanks for joining us. We have crews around the city making sure to bring you the latest information. We have now learned the identities of the 2 young people shot and killed in the mass shooting early this morning in Rochester. With that, we go to our news reporter Philip Boudreau near the scene on Pennsylvania Avenue. Phil, what can you tell us?
Jeannie, here's what we've learned of the 2 people killed in the attack. A family member of Jaquela Young posted on social media that she was one of the 2 victims killed in the attack. She is a 2019 graduate of East High School. Meanwhile, officials at UPrep confirmed the second victim is Jarvis Alexander, who played football for the school and also graduated in 2019. Here is video of Alexander playing for UPrep. He is number 12 on the left side of your screen. We're continuing to learn more about the victims, and right now the scene has changed considerably. Very few officers on scene right now. The only police scene crime tape left is right there in front of the 3 houses at the corner of 6th in Pennsylvania. The road is currently open to traffic. Very different. Rochester police were joined by New York State Police, Monroe County Sheriff's deputies, and members of the Irondequoit Police Department processing the scene. Police say more than 100 people attended the illegal house party when shots were fired back at 1 a.m. Rochester Police has announced that they will hold a briefing at 6:30 p.m. and we will bring that to you live, and we'll continue to stay here as we get more updates. Jeannie?
Such a sad, sad story. All right, Philip Boudreau reporting in Rochester. Thank you very much. We're learning more about the victims of the deadly shooting. Our news reporter Wendy Mills spoke with East High Superintendent Sean Nelms about the death of Jaquela Young, who graduated from East in 2019.
Well, East High Superintendent Dr. Sean Nelms says that Jaquela Young touched the lives of so many teachers and so many classmates. He says she was cheer team captain, a student ambassador, always happy to show off East High to visitors. She wanted to be a teacher, and even after graduating, was still back at East High to help with homecoming.
Something you just can't believe. No death is makes sense, but when you lose someone so innocent and who's doing everything right, good grades, positive in the school community, helpful with their peers, giving back to the school community after she graduates as an alum, to have her leave this earth so soon is heart-wrenching. And I'll be honest, I'm struggling today, and many of us are, and we hope that we can heal together. My heart truly goes out to her and her family, and to the entire East staff and community.
And Dr. Nelm says so many young people are affected by this mass shooting. So East High will be open Sunday and Monday from 9 to noon for students to come in, to grieve, to talk, and to find a way to deal with such a tragedy in a city that is already in such a troubling time. Wendy Mills, Spectrum News.
As for the injured, Rochester police say all the shooting victims range in age from 17 to 23, and their injuries are believed to be non-life-threatening. The University of Rochester Medical Center tells us 2 of the victims were taken to Golisano Children's Hospital. One is in the pediatric intensive care unit, the other in stable condition. 2 adults are at Strong Memorial Hospital in stable condition. 2 others are still under evaluation in the emergency department. 4 others have been treated and released. 5 other shooting victims were taken to Rochester General Hospital as well. The shooting has left some people who attended the gathering and those who live in the area in shock. Our news reporter Wendy Wright has their story.
Well, there was a lot of people in a small space.
One minute he was having fun at a party, and the next minute this young man says there was chaos.
I heard a lot of shots. I seen a lot of people duck towards the floor. I seen it was like a lot of people on the floor, and then when we ran, I seen a lot of people get trampled on, jumping the fences. I seen a lot of people crying, a lot of emotion.
He does not want his face on TV, but says he thinks he's still in shock.
I was with somebody. I was with a girl, so I jumped over her to kind of protect her. The person next to me got shot a few times. I heard screams, people saying call 911.
He says he and a friend were splattered in blood, but amazingly were not shot.
I believe it was probably like 30 to 40 shots. Probably, plus I think it was multiple shooters. The bullets stopped for a while. Everybody got up and ran towards like the back fence. They broke the back fence. People was like getting stomped on. I got stomped on a little bit.
For those I spoke to, whether they attended the party or they live in the neighboring homes, they say this is a trauma they won't soon forget.
She got shot.
One neighbor took this cell phone footage showing the chaos and people trying to help the victims.
Well, I woke up because of gunshots. And then I get up and I got kids in the driveway screaming and crying that somebody got shot.
Jasmine Lopez didn't hear any noise, she says, until she heard gunfire.
And there's kids just all over the place, hundreds of kids just running, jumping in the cars, dropping bottles, throwing up, bleeding everywhere on the corner. I mean, it's something you never wake up to see something like that. You know, just kids. I mean, these are all kids. Running into cars, jumping over curbs to take people out of here. The police officer walking people to the ambulance because the ambulance couldn't get in.
A neighborhood and a city now trying to move forward from this tragedy. Wendy Wright, Spectrum News.
We spoke with a neighbor who described lying in bed and hearing the gunshots from just down the street.
It was no automatic, but whatever. By being a marksman myself, I know once you pull the trigger, it's easy to pull the second one. So anybody could assume it was semi-automatic, but it was definitely pow, 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 pow. And I don't know how many rounds went off because I quit counting.
Rochester Mayor Lovely Warren is asking for prayers for people in this neighborhood and for those affected by the early morning mass shooting. The mayor spent time walking through this area, talking with family and people who live in the neighboring homes, many of whom woke up to the sound of gunfire. Mayor Warren was able to shed more light on what happened at the crowded gathering.
It's a tragic situation here. Had a chance to talk to the young lady who, invited a couple friends over, who invited a couple friends over, who invited a couple friends over, and it just got out of control. And she's just traumatized. I have a lot of kids right now that's traumatized.
An emotional Mayor Warren urging people in the community to avoid public gatherings. Warren adds the 11 p.m. curfew remains in effect. Rochester City Councilman Willie Lightfoot, who is also chairman of the Public Safety Committee, says it's a tough time for our city. He expressed his frustration at the scene of this morning's mass shooting. Here's some of what he said.
When people see something, they're going to have to say something. So, if the community here, the neighbors would have called in, then the police would have came and they would have shut it down based on the curfew. So I think that, the community has to take part in all of this. If you see something, you have to say something so that you can prevent something like this from happening. It's not about us just responding to homicides. We don't want to respond to homicides. We like to have a community where we prevent homicides and shootings from happening within our community, and that's going to take everybody, our entire community, to step up, and when they see something, they need to say something.
Members of the group Rise Up Rochester assisted families of the victims at the hospital and at the crime scene following the mass shooting. Our news reporter Seth Voorhees spoke with the group's founder about that unfathomable task.
I'm numb. You get mad.
Wanda Ridgway lives a few blocks from the mass shooting site. She feels the pain of the victims' families.
It's devastating. Like I said, something like a party can turn into a murder scene.
After her own nephew was murdered, Ridgway founded Rise Up Rochester, a nonprofit which assists families of victims of violence while offering programs to try and prevent it in the first place.
I mean, when I say this is just getting ridiculous, it's getting ridiculous. And then for the shooter, no one could really tell what was going on because people just started running.
Oh my God, he was just like I don't know what to say even to say. It's just sad. It's just sad.
Betty Oliver knows the pain. Her own son was murdered in Rochester.
Oh, that's a hard pill to swallow. You get that call early in the morning, late at night, somebody got in your family. I'm like, oh my God. It's just hard. It's just hard.
It's just devastating. You know, I'm mad.
Ridgway has attended too many funerals for young people murdered in the city. Regarding the party attended by well over 100 people, she believes the shooting could have been stopped had someone just called police.
We need you guys to say something. It can save somebody's life. Yeah, they may not like it, but then we won't be burying somebody's son or daughter.
In Rochester, Seth Voorhees, Spectrum News.
President of the United Christian Leadership Ministry, Reverend Lewis Stewart, spoke with reporters this afternoon to express his grief regarding the mass shooting of young people on Pennsylvania Avenue. He also said people need to be just as outraged about this as they are about Daniel Prude's death.
We should be just as outraged by gun violence caused by residents, just as much so as it is caused by police who shoot innocent black men and women.
Reverend Stewart says shootings in the community show that police cannot be defunded. He is also calling for clergy to do more in reaching out to young people to stop them from getting involved with violence.
The clergy must be much more forceful in getting out there, not only when something happens where you have the clergy on patrol and they get out there, and although I applaud that, but we must get out there each and every day and talk to our young people.
Reverend Stewart says UCLM grieves for the families of the victims who died, and that more needs to be done to stop guns from illegally coming into the state and in the hands of people on the streets.
In-person and online wine and spirits shopping experience.
As we take a break, here's the information we mentioned earlier about counseling at East High. We'll be back shortly.